Welcome back, everybody. As you probably guessed from the thumbnail and the title, this is the gun that we're going over today. This is a relatively new offering from the folks over at Smith Wesson. This is the Response. Essentially, it is an AR-9, a direct blowback firearm chambered at 9mm. But yes, it does take Glock mags for the first time, even though you see me sporting it here with this Smith & Wesson magazine in the gun. So what we're gonna do today is tell you a story about two guns, because this is my second one. And the reason the original had to go back was pretty unexpected, let's say, and we'll talk about that towards the end of the video. But it was definitely not something I thought would happen, but it had to go back to the factory. This is the second one that we got in. We're gonna talk about how both of them have performed, all of those sorts of things, all the different details on it, the cool new magwell that they have that allows it to use Glock magazines as well as Smith & Wesson magazines, what I think of it overall, price point, all those sorts of things we're gonna get into today. But this episode is actually gonna be a Mug Club episode as well. So what that means for folks who are new, who don't know, is that essentially we're going to do the free review here on YouTube and Rumble, and then we're going to go over to Mug Club and do some exclusive content. Today's topic we're going to be talking about is a New Mexico gun rights group that has done some crazy things. They have went door to door, illegally transferred firearms, illegally disposed of them, and then illegally gave the disposed but still functional firearms parts to a high school. And it is a story. So we're going to be talking about that over on Mug Club, as well as answering viewers' questions over there. And for folks who aren't familiar with Mug Club, the code here will get you a free month over there. And there are a ton of other creators over there creating exclusive content in a censorship-free environment, which very likely will become more and more important over the next 12 months. Folks like Alex Jones, Steven Crowder, the Hodge twins, Brian Callen, Nick DiPaolo, and others are making that content over there. So if you're interested in that, definitely check it out. So with that, I suppose before getting into all the details and going tip to butt like the Navy likes, we will head out to the range and see what kind of accuracy we can get out of this little carbine. Now we're going to put down a couple groups. We have the target downrange at 50 yards on the gun. Obviously we have the SIG at red dot with a EOTech magnifier. So not a ton of magnification, but I would imagine 9mm, most people are not running more magnification than that. In the gun right now, we have some 115 grain minute ammunition stuff and CTK precision rest, and I think that's it. Obviously, we have the silencer out there at the end, which is the Hux Works Cash 9. All right, next load up is going to be a defensive load, if you will, kind of a budget one. It's the S&B 115 grain jacketed hollow points. This comes from our friends over at Firearms Depot. So we will see how it likes the hollow points. All right, let's go check it out. In my opinion, both those groups are very acceptable for a pistol at 50 yards, pistol caliber. Right there at that Minuteman, we're right at an inch, maybe an inch and 3/4 on that one, center to center. Tightened up a little bit, it looks like anyway, with that S&B, yep. And we're right at about center to center, inch and 1/4 on that one with the S&B. Regardless, those are roughly 2 MOA to 3 MOA with a pistol caliber carbine. I will take that all day long. We've got some Fiocchi 147 grain hollow point rounds here from our friends at Firearms Depot. We'll see how they feed and how they sound, even though sound doesn't really come through computers, cameras, etc. But I know you guys want to see it, so we'll do a little mag dump for you. Not bad for a blowback in a small can. With that out of the way, we're going to start out here on the end and then work our way back. So the barrel does come threaded 1/2 by 28 standard, so most of your 9mm silencers or muzzle devices out there will work with it. One, I guess, con that we're going to say to the gun, in my opinion, is that it does come with just a thread protector. I would like to see any type of rifle like this that could potentially be used for home defense or self-defense come with a flash hider. It would cost an extra $10 Smith & Wesson, so if you guys could do that, I think that would be a good thing, obviously to reduce flash signature as well as concussive noise if you're shooting it inside. That said, a 16-inch 9mm, not going to have a lot of that anyway, but having less is better, so there is that. Continuing on back, we do have our handguard. This handguard here is polymer, which is interesting. Keeps it nice and lightweight. And then additionally, it has our M-lock at the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock positions. The offset positions are not usable M-lock positions. They're just cut out for a couple things. Number one, to keep it lightweight, as well as for added cooling for the barrel. The barrel itself is not nitrided. That's one thing that some folks were surprised about when it was released. It is just Parkerized on there. That said, again, for 9mm, I don't think that's a huge issue, but if you guys live in very corrosive environments, like near the ocean or something like that, it is something to keep in mind. But again, M-lock slots all the way down, then it has this slant cut to allow you to get a little bit more space out there on the end for mounting lights, lasers, etc., sights, things like that, to get a little bit greater sight distance. And then it secures itself back here with the receiver. Now, continuing on back, you'll note that we do not have a shell deflector. We do not have a forward assist. I know some of you guys love that. I like the forward assist, even on a blowback gun, but it does not have them. Nice and slick side on there. Then we do have our magazine release here, which is, of course, a little bit further back to allow for pistol magazines, which release from the front, unlike AR-15 magazines. And then we do have this magwell. I cannot, unfortunately, on YouTube, or, well, I guess I could elsewhere, but I'm not going to make two different videos. But I cannot on YouTube, unfortunately, show you how to change this out from a M&P magwell to a Glock magwell. That said, I will tell you it is extremely simple. Anyone can do it. It is not complex in any way. But this one here that does have the M marking on it is for the M&Ps, and then there is a G marked one that comes with it, of course, and that is for Glock mags. So that is a huge deal, folks. Glock mags are the standard in terms of pistol mags out there. Virtually everyone watching this video will have a Glock mag or more, or more than one. And of course, there's also a ton of different aftermarket mags that fit Glock pattern magwells that are very inexpensive, and really it just kind of is the ubiquitous pistol mag at this point. So probably number 2 to that, honestly, is the M&P series, but with Glock being Glock, it makes total sense to make one that accepts those magazines, and it really does. It's not like admitting defeat, in my opinion. Like when I first posted about this gun, some people said that. I don't think that's true. It's just accepting reality. Glock has dominated the market for 30 plus years, and why not make something that can accommodate folks who already have a plethora of Glock magazines at home. So continuing on back, of course, our upper receiver is polymer, and that will play a role in why this is the second one of these that I do own. We'll get to that a little bit later on in the video. But moving on to this side of the gun, we do have standard AR-15 controls. Safety, of course, fire and safe. Bolt lock, which of course works the same. You can lock it to the rear, and of course it does lock back on the last round, which certainly is nice. There's a lot of blowback PCCs on the market that do not do that. So that is a nice feature. And of course, to send your bolt home, that is how you do it. Disassembly is standard AR-15 with one exception that we will show you here in just a second. The trigger itself has the flat shoe on there. However, it is a mil-spec trigger in terms of pull weight. So make sure we are clear, put it on fire, and then you guys will see there, we do have a little bit of take up, and then it breaks right at 5 pounds, reset, creep, break. So it's nothing to write home about, but it's also not going to prevent you from getting good accuracy, as you guys saw when we were out there on the range. Charging handle is going to be polymer. I do not believe it is interchangeable with AR-15 mil-spec ones. That said, it is wider than normal, and kind of has the enhanced features that a lot of folks out there would be looking for. Our grip is a standard M&P grip, but if you want to swap it out for any AR-15 grip, you can do so. It does have this, which is a disassembly tool for the M&P pistols, but in this case, it allows you to change out the back straps, and it does come with a number of different back straps in there. It also comes, I should mention that, with 2 23-round M&P magazines, which is nice for capacity. Most folks aren't going to have a need to fire 24 or more rounds of 9mm in a defensive encounter, but if you do, you will absolutely make the news. Or of course, you can just swap it out to a Glock compatible magwell and run the fun sticks or the drums or any of the things that Glock offers. Additionally, moving on back, our castle nut there does have good staking on there, and then the stock is the Magpul SL stock. This is one of my favorite AR-15 stocks ever. I have a full dedicated video on it, but it can do anything you want your AR stock to do. It has the quick detach point there for your sling swivels, also traditional slings mounting points. Additionally, it has some lockup mechanisms on the inside that make it super tight on your buffer tube, and it's not going to wiggle and wobble around on you. It has a nice rubber padded butt pad. It's slim, it's lightweight. It is just a very good overall AR-15 butt stock. Through the magic of video editing, we have the rifle apart, and there's a couple things I want to draw your attention to. Obviously, this is our lower receiver. One thing is that it's heavily reinforced back here towards where the buffer assembly is. The buffer is very heavy. We will roll in the weight here on your screen if I can actually get it, but super heavy as you'd expect from a 9mm blowback gun. Additionally, up here we do have the ejector built in, so you don't have to worry about having a separate part like you would on a standard AR-15. Trigger looks to be the exact same trigger that is on my, I believe it's called the Volunteer rifle from Smith Wesson. So definitely appears to be mil-spec in that regard. There are a number of aftermarket triggers that you guys can use in this. Just check out Smith Wesson's website. They do have them listed. It's not everyone, but it is most of them. Now, one thing I wanted to draw your attention to is this piece right here. So that is one of the differences between most of the competitive offerings out there. So this is a unique piece that fits into your receiver right here, and it's unique to both the Smith & Wesson magwell and the Glock magwell, and it does a couple things. Number one, it acts as an over insertion stop. So obviously when it is, when the gun is assembled, it is being held in place by your front takedown pin, so you don't have to worry about it coming out. But additionally, what it does is it also is what causes the last round bolt hold open to work. So it basically will come down from here to this little button right here, and if you guys can see, that is being actuated as it goes through to hold the bolt open. So this is a unique piece, and one thing I will say is that if you're cleaning this gun out in the field or something like that, I don't know why you would be, but if you are, pay attention to this. And again, this is not interchangeable with the one that comes with the Glock magwell. They are separate pieces, one for the M&P, one for the Glock, and they are marked G and M just like the magwell, so you guys will not get them wrong. At least I certainly hope not. Again, charging handle, I'm not sure. I do not think it is compatible with other AR-15 parts. It is made out of polymer because there's no reason not to in this particular example. And then we have our bolts. There's a few cool things going on with the bolt. Number one, it is actually a two-piece bolt, and I'm not sure why they went with that design, but it is two-piece. And then back here, I should also note that there is a weight in the back of the actual bolt assembly itself, and the weight back there is tungsten, and it acts like a dead blow hammer, and that is just to make the recoil a little bit more pleasant than what you get with a traditional just chunk of steel that would be on there. Additionally, you can look up here, we do have this piece that is bolted on, and what that's for is, of course, for the new folks, is just to make the charging handle be able to rack the gun. So it is fit specifically for that part, which is why, again, I do not think the charging handle is interchangeable. Bolt head up front is pretty much exactly what you'd expect from a blowback gun. We do have a beefy extractor, a pin that keeps it in place. If you ever did want to work on it, clean it out, things like that, you can drive the pin out for maintenance. And then, like I said, it is two pieces. So obviously we have the firing pin on the inside there. And if I push this pin over, pull this pin out, the firing pin is going to shoot out. That's why I had my finger there to stop it. And what we will see here is that is the rear piece. The only thing I can think of is that Smith & Wesson maybe thinking about making a separate piece that is heavier for suppressed use or something like that, which of course we've been using this gun suppressed almost exclusively and haven't had any issues with timing or anything like that, which we'll get to here in just a second, I promise. And then of course our firing pin does have a spring on there to prevent slam fires, and it can only go in one way. That little groove in there has to be facing up in order for it to be reassembled. But that basically is what you have there, and with the lower rather, but with the upper, very, very simple affair, nothing too fancy at all. Polymer, everything looks as it should there. It has a nice wide feed ramp on there, as you'd expect, but the way this rifle feeds, it really actually doesn't even need it, because the angle of feed is so high up in the gun that essentially rather the rounds go straight into the chamber, which is smart from a gun design platform. So let's put it back together and then talk about what happened with this gun as well as the previous gun. Finally, we're going to get into the part of the video that most of you guys have been sticking around to hear about. So what happened with the first gun? Well, the answer to that is I don't know for sure. That said, I've had lengthy discussions with the engineers over at Smith Wesson about what I sent back to them and basically what they found and what I found and what I think happened, etc. So first gun got sent out. I should note that both guns were sent out to me by Smith & Wesson for this review at no cost to me, so just full disclosure there. That said, they are not paying for this video. They don't get to see this video first, anything like that. So basically, we got the gun out, first range day, put about 100 rounds through it of different types of ammo, both Minuteman Munitions, which is our sponsor here for 9mm. We definitely appreciate them. Put Minuteman Munitions through it, Cellar and Bellet, 115 grain full metal jacket, as well as the S&B hollow points. And we had no issues for like the first 100 rounds. The one thing, excuse me, we had multiple issues, I should say. The one thing that kept happening was it was a failure to feed. And what it felt like, from my perspective as the operator of the gun, is that it felt like there was just not enough force for the bolt to go home. Failure looks like to feed. Yeah, failure to feed, factory Glock mag. 115 grain minute, man. Same thing. Forward assist would be nice for all the forward assist haters out there. Yeah, it's not going forward quite with enough oomph. Same thing. Bet I can push it. If there were some serrations on there, I'd be able to push it. But when I went to run the action to clear the malfunction, I had to pull relatively hard. Now, at the time, I wasn't sure if that was just a function of it being a 9mm blowback gun and the way it is sprung, which makes sense. It makes sense that it would be harder to rack the action on a 9mm blowback gun than it would be on like an AR-15, for example. So I didn't really think much of it. And we just continued firing, but we kept having that same failure to go into battery, failure to feed. And so we kept firing the gun, testing it out just to see what would happen. And then we were firing and this happened. As y'all just saw, we had an out of battery discharge. Now I should mention that this is a possibility with any type of direct blowback gun. It's also a possibility with different types of actions. However, it is also a very rare malfunction. And to the best of my knowledge, I'm the only one that's had one of these. Yay me! On this particular firearm, there also is a firearm spring, excuse me, a firing pin spring on this gun, as you guys saw when we just took it apart to help prevent that. That said, if any blowback gun gets to a certain point in the cycle of function and that firing pin is out, which obviously it was in this particular case, it absolutely can have an outer battery discharge. Unfortunately for me, this is the second one I've had on camera, but I do shoot firearms for a living, so while an out of battery discharge is extremely uncommon, if what you do for a living is shoot constantly, it's not out of the realm of possibilities, as you guys just saw. So what happened when that gun detonated, out of battery detonation, is you guys should be seeing photos that I rolled in here. But basically, this portion of the receiver blew out, went into my arm, into my neck, blew that out, went into my face. Am I bleeding? No. Well, I think we got some issues, to say the least. I don't know if I'll be able to. Yeah, there's the case in there. I don't know if you guys can see it, but that is the case right in there. That was gnarly. So it was a fairly concerning moment for me, if we're being honest. And also, you know, if we're being honest, I do think that if this was an aluminum AR-15 upper, I don't think it would have blown out in that way. I think we would have had some issues, but I don't think it would have been that bad. Additionally, I should note that at that particular time, I was using a Glock magazine, and that Glock magazine feeding area, essentially where the feed lips are, was ruined as well. So that magazine was gone, gonzo on that magazine. So looking at the bolt, it looked completely fine. And again, I should be rolling in photos for you guys to check it out, because I documented everything, as you would imagine one would do in this type of situation. Then I contacted Smith & Wesson, let them know what happened, sent them the footage, and also sent them the gun. Now, again, what I just described to you and the way it felt with the first gun out there leads me to believe something that one of the engineers said after talking about it is what actually happened and what caused it, rather. So one of the engineers, I sent it back, and he noted that the portion in the rear, essentially the detent there that keeps your bolt from going forward, was broken when I sent it in. Now, what we think at some point is that either it broke in the first 100 or so rounds, or it shipped from the factory broken. I don't really know, because again, I wasn't inspecting that part in detail, because it's generally speaking an inconsequential part for most AR-15 or AR-9 type of operations. So that part was broken when we sent it in. We know that for sure. So it either broke in the first 100 rounds or shipped broken. We don't know. And what that was causing was, if you just think about where the bolt goes, it goes right over that piece, and it was broken in half. And basically that was causing excess drag on the gun, on the action of the gun. So when this one actually arrived, when I ran the action for the first time after getting it out of the box, I was like, holy crap, that feels like a completely different gun, which leads me to believe that it actually, the original one shipped broken, because it never felt as smooth as this gun feels. This gun feels smooth. The second one here, it feels like it's not even lubricated. It feels smooth. The first one did not feel like that. It felt like almost crunchy. And so that leads me to believe the hypothesis is that it shipped out with that piece broken, and that piece being broken caused, again, not enough force to go home into battery, which led to our out of battery discharge. Now, I'm happy to report that, again, this gun has come back and we haven't had any issues at all with it. It has ran 100% reliable with everything we've put through it. The vast majority, again, has been Minute ammunitions, but we also put that Cellar and Bellet 115 grain hollow points through it just to see what would happen, as well as we also put some Fiocchi 147 grain through it just to see. And it ran all of it fine. It has 600 rounds through it at this point, which isn't a ton, but it's enough to confirm that basically the gun works fine as long as all the parts ship out to you in correct configuration. So that is what we have seen with this firearm. Is it unfortunate that it happened? Yes, mostly to me. I still have some polymer in my arm. There's none in my neck anymore, which is good. But it is nice that it happened on a 9mm versus a rifle cartridge, which that would be a whole nother world. But again, I do think that if it was aluminum, it probably wouldn't have blown out. We would have had the mag blow out for sure. Might have had a bulge or something like that. But I also personally know 5 or 6 people that 6 people that have this gun and have shot a number of different rounds through it. None of them have reported any malfunctions or any issues at all. And I'm sure at this point, Smith & Wesson has sold thousands of them. I haven't seen any other issues being reported online. I think it was just bad luck by me getting one in that was broken out of the box, causing that issue. But what that also serves as a reminder for is to always wear your eye and ear pro. If in this case, the ear pro wouldn't have been that big of a deal, but there's no doubt in my mind, because it came in my face, as we mentioned, that stuff would have gotten in my eyes and possibly damaged my vision forever if I wasn't wearing eye pro. So that is just kind of a good safety reminder for everybody out there to wear your eye and ear pro, because you never know what's going to happen with a gun. These are mechanical instruments, and all mechanical instruments absolutely can fail. And even ones made from super reputable brands like Smith & Wesson. So that is the story of what happened, and you guys have seen the video of it happening. Now, what do I think of the gun overall? Well, we need to talk about price point first. So price point on this one, I think the MSRP is $799. And street price right now, the cheapest I've seen this is for $650. If you guys are watching this anywhere besides YouTube, there will be a link. Of course, we do not link to guns on YouTube because that is verboten. But so for $650, you get an AR-9 that can do a lot of things pretty darn well. I think the majority of them are going to be like this one I have right in front of me, which is super reliable, ergonomic. The recoil impulse is not terrible. It is definitely noticeable that it is a blowback gun, but because it is relatively large, it's not that big of a deal. And recoil impulse is definitely something that folks would like. A lot of people who are new to guns definitely like PCCs. I know people are going to argue about it down below in the comments. It's just a pistol caliber carbine for the new folks. And so people argue about it down in the comments, but I'm telling you, I take new shooters out to shoot all the time. It is something I do with very high rates of frequency, and I'm telling you, a lot of the new folks just prefer a 9mm PCC over a 5.56 AR-15 or a 7.62 by 39 AK. There are pros and cons to each. I have multiple videos on the topic. I'm not going to beat it to death here, but I do think this is going to be an attractive gun for a lot of people. It allows you to add the accessories that you want. Like if you had this gun for home defense, in most cases, you're just simply not going to be outgunned by who's coming through your door. So you're going to have the ability to have 23 plus run with M&P mag or 33 plus 1 with the Glock mags at the ready. With quality defensive ammunition, you're going to be able to handle most situations fairly well. That is what I would say. It has all the benefits that the AR-15 ergonomics offer, which is huge. The AR-15 is the AR-15 for a reason. It is the standard. It is very easy to use. It is intuitive, and that it definitely is something a lot of folks like and will be attracted to. And I think the street price of $649 versus, say, $700 is pretty attractive, and I think they're going to sell a ton of these, and this video may go viral because of the content that we just showed you, but even with that, I think they're still going to sell a ton of them because, again, that is my personal sample size of 2. There are thousands of these in circulation. I've not heard anything else problematic with them happening. So there is that. And I suppose with that, guys, we will close the video out. If you guys like this type of video, definitely hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Also hit the notification bell if you've done that. You're not seeing 2 to 4 videos rather a week on the channel. Make sure you sign up for my email at the website here on your screen. This email goes out once a month. It has all of the videos since the previous month's email went out. So that way there's no big tech giant censoring your eyes from my content through an algorithm. Additionally, we have the daily deals email, which is fire. Absolute fire. If you guys are interested in good deals on guns, optics, ammo, accessories, anything like that, definitely sign up for that. It has 8 of the best deals that we find around the internet every single day. If the item is in that email, it's the cheapest I know of anywhere because I've already done the price comparisons for you. It doesn't make it in the email if not, so that way it saves you guys some time and hopefully saves you some money because I've already, again, done all the price comparisons for you. And additionally, it has a good meme, which everyone likes. Everyone likes the meme. There are people who are signed up specifically for the meme. So if you're signed up for the meme, we appreciate that as well. That is it, guys. We're going to close the video out here on YouTube and Rumble, and we're going to head over to Mug Club for that exclusive content. So with that, piss off, YouTube.